throughout the course Leading to Make a Difference, I took the opportunity to answer most of the questions in the lessons through the lens of a lacrosse coach rather than a classroom teacher. This summer I'm taking a number of different courses, and most of them I will look at things as a teacher, but this was a great opportunity to look at how I can help individuals grow through my role as a head lacrosse coach. Four of the main things that I took away were helping students create a positive self-image, how to manage stress, working on a program and building a winning tradition, and then also actively teaching character. So, Dennis Parker's presentation on positive self-image really struck home to me, and I think it's huge for players to develop a positive self-image, not just as an athlete, but as an individual and a person who's part of a community. And with this, some of the things that I took as key takeaways were goal setting and learning how to set goals. And historically, I've done this at the beginning of the season, and we've reviewed towards the end, but I like the idea of setting weekly goals as well as practice goals. And I guess in a way we've had these, but helping students spell these out specifically, or the athletes I should say, spell these out specifically so that they know what they're working on and whether or not they reach this. Also the sense of gratitude. I happen to coach at a school that's pretty well off, and I think a lot of times the student athletes take things for granted and don't realize what they have. And while we do a number of fundraising projects and service learning projects, I haven't taken the time to teach them to appreciate all that they do have and the opportunities that they're presented that many other people don't have. So I truly took home the sense of gratitude. And then also reshaping self-image through stories is another big takeaway from Dennis Parker's presentation for me. There are a number of students that I work with and athletes that I work with that seem to be down on themselves, really kind of hard on themselves, and I like the concept of shaping them through stories and helping them kind of redefine or dehypnotize them, was Dennis Parker's phrase, and kind of get them to create a different mental picture of who they are as an athlete. Another big takeaway that I took away from this course was helping student athletes manage stress, and I truly believe that they're under more pressures and have more placed on them today, possibly any other time, certainly more than when I played as a hockey player and was a student. So helping them manage these stressors, I think it's important to learn what those stressors are, identify them, figure out how they impact you. Maybe what's a stressor for one athlete doesn't impact the other so much, but identify what your 3 or 4 biggest stressors are, and then work to alleviate some of the anxiety that an individual might feel over that. Also, time management was a big piece that I took away from this particular course by Kathy Wycamp. If students can learn to identify what's important to them, what they need to focus on, and prioritize the things that they have, and realize that something might be due in 3 weeks, something's due in 2 days, tackle the one that's due in 2 days first, work on the 3 weeks one a little further down the road, but don't wait until the night before something's due. Also learning to manage nutrition and water intake. As athletes, we always talk about how important it is, but I found that as I was watching this, I would like to have hard facts and numbers to present to the students and the athletes that I work with in lacrosse as to why and how those, what they put into their body, both nutritionally and through water, is important, and how it impacts their performance both academically and athletically. And then the final thing I wanted to take away was actively teaching them how to use imagery as well as relaxation techniques to help alleviate and reduce some of the stress that they feel, as well as to better prepare for competitions. Tom Satterdahl's presentation on building a winning tradition, I felt, was beneficial. He was a very successful hockey coach at Bloomington Jefferson. If I can take anything from him and apply it to my own lacrosse program, I think it would be beneficial. one of the big things that I would like to work on, and just sort of reiterated something that I've thought about doing, is starting a summer lacrosse camp that's for the youth players, but have many of my current players who are solid role models come and work the camp and help teach the skills. I think it would get the younger players to buy in, and it gives a great leadership opportunity for the older players, and it also kind of gives them a chance to put into action a belief that we hold of paying it forward and helping give back to the lacrosse community. I think having my parents start a yearbook or a memory book would be a great way to get parents involved and active in the program. Many are already involved in a board that we do and some of the fundraising activities, but this would give some others with different skills to also contribute. I would like to increase our youth involvement, or our involvement with the youth program, and have more players go and volunteer at the youth practices, as well as do some speaking engagements at the middle school that feeds us, as well as some of the elementary schools. And finally, having started lacrosse in the Rochester area, this would be broader than just Century Lacrosse. I would like to see a wall of fame get started. And at this point, what we need to do is just collect names and universities where players have gone on either to play division ball or club lacrosse, and collect this. And then I would like this to be part of the future fields that are being developed now through the Rochester Parks and Rec. And we have some insight as to how these get developed. And I think it would be great to, in a shelter or something, or at a concession stand that will be there at a future time, to have a wall of fame so people can see who played here and kind of where they have gone on and how their careers went. And then the last piece that I'm going to talk about, certainly it wasn't the only other takeaway from this course, but one of the 4 big ones for me was teaching character. And I've often done this, and we've make it a big part of our program, but through the process that I saw, I really liked the idea of teaching weekly themes to the players. And that was one of Bruce Brown's big things, is have a weekly theme, maybe develop these, not maybe, but definitely develop them before the season, and go ahead and use those to reinforce different things that come up throughout the week. I also liked his framework that he gave of helping teach character, of defining what it is that you want to see, and being very specific. Modeling it for players, you can either model it yourself, certainly throughout the year, but also point out other players and help them do some of that, and then shaping, which is sort of the redirecting, and then the reinforcing piece, and congratulating people and giving verbal praise publicly to players who are doing what you want them to do. And then I liked his idea of spotlighting at the end of games, and just putting the spotlight on players who demonstrated what you're looking for. So not always the best player or the player who had an outstanding game, but players who dug in, did what they needed to, showed and demonstrated character throughout the game, and putting the spotlight on those players to let them feel rewarded for what they do game in and game out. So I think if I can put in the different things that I learned from this course into my next lacrosse season, it will help us build on a tradition that's pretty strong, but I think it can make it even stronger.